Think big, act small, fail fast, learn rapidly. This captures the essence of a high-performing, lean, agile team. The idea is to shoot for the stars in terms of vision and what one wants to accomplish. To think grand, but take incremental steps towards the achievement of a goal, with learning and adaptation along the way. One of my first experiences working in a lean company was at a startup in 2003. The company was a competitor to eBay. They were privately bootstrapped. They didn't have outside funding. They were around for a couple of years, and they had a customer base of about 200,000 people around the world with dozens of languages. They were growing rapidly. How many people do you think this company had? It was about 5 people, and they still exist today. I was impressed, and I was wondering how this is possible with such a small team. What's the magic here? They were clearly doing the right things. They had to focus on the things that they could work on that would yield the highest economic value and let go of the things that didn't. In order to surface value, they released small experiments and tests. They did search engine optimization, a variety of different things. They took a quantitative approach. They were empirical, using data to drive what to focus on next. Rather than coming up with a list of requests or features that they hoped would stick, they leveraged the customer and they asked them what their feedback was and improved the product over time. They also did a lot of automation. Does this sound familiar? I carried this lesson forward with me as I went to work for larger companies, particularly in larger companies where the environments seem much more forgiving when it came to value discovery and creation. I had the unique opportunity to apply these learnings, in my future projects. So basically, lean and agile focus on maximizing value and delivering it as fast as possible. Through findings, we see that about 64% of the features here are rarely or never used. The Pareto principle 80-20 is about 20% are often or always used, resulting in about 80% of the value. Consider this. What would you do with the time that it took you to build that 64%? So lean as a concept, it originated from Toyota Production Systems in Japan, Taichi Ono. It was then modernized in early 2000, using the lean thinking principles of software delivery by Mary Poppendieck. The lean shares a lot of tenets with agile and is in many cases premising its principles. Methodologies like Kanban are not mutually exclusive with Scrum, and when they're combined, they can provide some very powerful results. So largely, lean's focus is around surfacing value through removal of non-value added activities. Those activities are known as waste or muda. There are several forms of waste, including handover, defects, waiting. There's a theory of constraints, which was coined by Eli Goldratt in his book, The Goal. It involved creating conditions that expose bottlenecks in the system. Once the bottleneck is identified and eliminated, new bottlenecks emerge, and this process continues until that onion is peeled back and you're resulting in just high value creating activities. So frameworks like Kanban help support that. Respecting people is another important consideration, that a single decision maker shouldn't be able to effectively split themselves across complex problems. Ford's car assembly line was extremely fast and efficient, but it didn't handle complexity or variation well. Taichi Ono in Toyota improved that by actually adding the people factor and allowing them to make decisions on the fly, and that allowed for variance, but also having high productivity as well. Seeing the whole is the idea that the solution is more than just the sum of all parts, but also interdependencies. Concepts like cake slicing, cross-functional teams, continuous integration, they all emphasize the idea of optimizing the whole. Success. When I was a Scrum Master in a well-established company, I was tasked with ramping up a large team that was responsible for delivering high visibility initiatives. There was an enormous amount of complexity, uncertainty ahead, and pressure. This diagram shows the performance of the team over time. with the units on the left being story points, units of value. You see the directional improvements when the team started to really use a disciplined approach of limiting the amount of work in progress in the sprint. So other kind of keys to success that I would highlight for high performing teams include improved frequency and delivery of economic value and increased velocity over time for the same sort of team size, higher customer net promoter scores, which is an indication of how likely a customer is to refer someone else to a product or service. And also that teams are not only self-organizing, but they're also self-evolving. They're really tuned into and redefining and evolving their own processes. This also shows, this highlights some examples here of the limited of work in progress. It overlaps with Sprint 5, and basically what you look at is the orange is work that is being, stories that are being grabbed and worked on. In the beginning, you're seeing that the team is sort of grabbing all the work at once and working on multiple things at the same time. The gray highlights a work that has not been touched. So you can see over time that the team has adopted to a pattern of swarming work and focusing on getting a piece of work done before grabbing the next. And it has led to, you can see that there's some strong correlations of productivity here. Another, one takeaway I would say, if you had to take away from this, is, introducing a visual storyboard into a team's stand-up practices is very powerful. It really allows the team to visualize and have a centerpiece of conversation around the flow of work. It also allows them to help see blockers and also manage and limit work in process over time. Another concept that I wanted to talk about, and this is related to waste, is the idea of simplicity. Several years ago, I was on a venture. I worked with a business partner on a small business product that it allowed small businesses to create a marketing presence and sell their products and services online. There was an investor conference that was coming up in 1 month, and basically trying to get that product ready to demo in seeking investment capital. There was tremendous amount of pressure to deliver, even with basically peeling back and getting to the most basic features. It would have been a stretch to deliver the functionality before the conference. So because it was a marketplace, there sort of two areas had to be developed, a buyer and seller side. After racking my brain for a couple of sleepless nights, it occurred to me that I could bypass having to build the seller site for now and drive the data using a spreadsheet. So while this involved more manual operational type of work, we only had about 20 early customers. So the overhead wasn't very high. And as a result, we were able to successfully deliver the demo to the investors and secure funding. So by using this lightweight approach, it also allowed us to capture learnings and incorporate them as we built the seller side. So think big, act small, fail fast, learn rapidly. Thank you.